All right, chicken and sausage gumbo time. So, this is basically what you need, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. A couple of broths. These are the two I prefer. Get whatever you want. So, but I would suggest starting with these. You don't necessarily need all of them, but I'll show you that after. 3 sausages. Probably just 1 head of garlic is plenty, but I have 2 just in case one's shit. Peppers. Green pepper. Red pepper. You really only need 1 of those 2. And I have a poblano and a jalapeno. Onion, sweet, yellow, Spanish, just not red onion. You need tomato paste, celery, quinoa. I like sprouted. It's better for you, but you can get whatever. And then chicken. This has been trimmed and marinated overnight in this. Most of this sort of stuff, the President's Choice Fortinos. So, all right, let's get into vegetable prep. All right, so now we got everything laid out here. So I had that whole thing of celery in the last video. I use celery instead of okra instead of this. Okra is what you're supposed to use, but you don't need all of it. You know, I got six spears here. Probably do maybe 1 or 2 more, but whatever. Everything's ready to go, except the garlic. I'll do that last. And let's get chopping. Okay, before I clear the cutting board, this is kind of the consistency. Green pepper, poblano pepper, jalapeno pepper. Celery already cut into 1/4-inch slices. I feel like consistency is important, so I like small pieces. I don't want everything to be all fucking different sizes, but that's personal preference. So continue here. Okay, so vegetables chopped, pretty fine consistency, personal preference there. So don't mind this shit, just garlic skins. Garlic, normally I'd use roughly 6 cloves, but these ones are huge, so you can use less. So, and they're pretty, if I didn't have a phone in my hand, I would squish these with the knife and then chop them. So with these, we got a pan with some oil in it. The pan's not dirty. It's just well seasoned from browning meat. This is a stainless steel pan that I use for this. You can use any kind of pan. So, and then there's an avocado oil that I use. So what you want to do is, I'm going to do this in 2 batches, but basically throw half your veggies in, and you're just going to slowly, you don't want to brown them, you don't even want to fully cook them, you just want to do what's called sweating. So this is because a slow cooker doesn't get overly hot, so your veggies will still be crunchy if you don't do this part. So I don't cover it because I want some of the water to escape. Leave it there. The pan wasn't really hot enough when I started, but you don't want it. You want it like halfway, 5 or 6 on the stove. And once this comes to a simmer, keep moving it around. At the most, I'll show you when it's done. So once these have been in here, about 10 minutes, not even brown yet, just kind of look like they're starting to get a little translucent. It's exactly where we want to be. These will probably be another minute or 2. I don't mind if it gets a little bit brown, but nothing crazy. Definitely don't want it burnt. So just bring in a bit of character, and this also brings the flavors of your dish out. So this is the amount of garlic that I got out of those cloves that you saw earlier. This is a little bit much, probably. I mean, not for me, but for some people. You probably won't even notice because you're kind of used to it when I cook like this. But, I mean, if you have any more than this, it's probably too much. So you want to chop it. I could even go a little finer than this, which I may when I stop this. But you want to let it air out for 5 or 10 minutes. So, because when you let garlic air out, it gets healthier for you. Because some of the stuff inside that isn't good, no, not necessarily isn't good for you, airs off, and it just ends up being nutritionally better for you. So let it air out, and this gets added to the last round of vegetables in the last minute. So because you don't want to burn garlic. So you'll see that next. So these are almost done. So we're gonna add the garlic. Garlic's in. Camera doesn't like the steam. There we go. So just going to give that a toss. This is going to get 1 more minute, and then it goes in the slow cooker. So you don't want to run it more than that because the garlic will burn, and that is the worst thing you can do in a meal like this. So we got that's first batch in there. Second batch, a little bit more oil. Don't go crazy. That's tons. Move it around a bit. Last of the veggies. Again, another 5-10 minutes here. And then next step. Alright, so while we're waiting for number 2, we got our vegetables. You always want them as your base. Chicken marinating. It's pretty much ready to go. With most of the meats that I cook with, you brown them first. This is an exception. So for this, you need roughly 3 chicken breasts. I have 5 going in here, but that's just because how many the pack had in it. I will take a couple out before it's done. I'm just going to cook them and then take them out. Colleen takes them for lunch, but I'll show you that after. So you normally put 3 of these in here, and then we're going to use 3 sausages. So you just lay them in there, good to go. Okay, so these are the seasonings you want to use. You don't necessarily need them all. Black pepper, Himalayan pink salt, Worcestershire sauce, paprika, and ancho chipotle sauce, or powder. So I added the second vegetables, chipotle, or an ancho. Don't want to overdo it. Tex-Mex. This is optional if you're using Tex-Mex. You don't have to add this, but I have it, so not a ton. Mexican oregano. This is important. Again, not essential, but I have it, so I use it. Go light on the herbs for your first time. Celery salt, this is essential. Again, not a ton, especially because it's salt, just enough. And then those I'll add in after I stop making the video. Worcestershire, good shake. Six, 7 good shakes, that's plenty. You don't want to go overboard. Smoked paprika, also essential. Again, nothing crazy, but so if you did it right, you can still see the vegetables. They're just lightly dusted, and like I said, I'll add salt and pepper, a couple grinds of each, maybe 5-6 grinds of pepper, 2-3 grinds of salt. You got to remember that your broth has salt in it too, so you got to watch your salt content with between the celery salt, the sea salt, and the 2 boxes. So okay, so now it's time for the broth. So I'll always start with this one. Wash all the spices down. I used about 5/6 of that box. There's just a little bit left. Just want to add a little bit of this one. Probably use about half of this box. Just want to get to the point where the chicken's covered. So you don't want to go too crazy. It's a mistake I used to make. These can both be saved in the fridge for up to 10 days, but write the date on the boxes. So this is everything for now. Now what we do is give it a good stir. Then we're going to put it on low for 10 hours. We're not really going to cook it for 10 hours. I just don't want it to shut off on me. So give it a good stir. And then let it do its thing, and I'll show you the rest later. Before I end this video, the sausage we add later. You can cook this on a barbecue, on a fry pan, I'm going to barbecue it later. This gets added later, and this gets added at the end. So I'll show you how all that comes together later this afternoon. Okay, so we got original 10 hours. We're about 5 hours through. It's 3:30. Say come home from work. You know, you're ready to go. We got to finish the rest of this. So here's our vegetable medley, and our chicken's in there cooked. So we're going to use tongs, pull that out. So we'll do that now. Okay, so we originally had 5. I put a couple aside in the baggie because I don't want, so you want around 3 medium chicken breasts. Also have my 3 sausages. I've already barbecued these. You can cook them in an air fryer, on the stovetop in a pan, the barbecue. You want them about 90% of the way cooked because it's not going to cook for that much longer in the slow cooker. The closer you are to eating, the more you got to cook it. So once you got that and that, we're just going to shred the chicken and we're going to chop the sausage. So we chopped the sausage. For its sausage choices, you really have to stick with Italian, chorizo, or andouille sausage. This is a different one that I got at a butcher shop, kind of on a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think it's going to be all that great for this recipe, but that doesn't matter for your sakes. You'll get the right one. Chicken, just shredded up and pulled. I cut this into coins. You could tear it apart. You could just about do anything. It's personal preference. So now both of these are getting added back to the slow cooker. Okay, so chicken and sausage are in there, hence chicken and sausage gumbo. See the consistency I got? Everything just sort of lays under the liquid. It's pretty thick. That's pretty much how I want it. I might add a little bit of liquid to this because you should have a little bit more for the quinoa. The quinoa is going to suck this up and it's going to be more of a stew than a soup. So at this point, with the broth that we saved this morning, we can adjust that broth level. So from this morning, if you need to, you add a little bit more. But you can always do this right at any time right up until the end. So just, I want to bring it up just a bit. So now we have our 2 last ingredients. Quinoa. Just under a half a cup. In she goes. Work it in. You're going to have to stir this a couple times between now and when it's done. So, can't really do this one while I hold the camera, but you want to add the tomato paste, the entire can, and you want to do it in little bits. So don't just dump it in one glop. Pull a little bit out, a fifth of the can on the fork, mix it around. Otherwise, you'll just end up with lumps of tomato paste floating around. So I'm going to add that now. Okay, so I got the tomato paste added. Now, you can see it's still a good liquidy consistency. That quinoa is going to soak up some of this liquid. So this is definitely going to get thicker. So it's definitely going to be a stew-style soup. If you want to you could change. You could add more liquid now. Do whatever you got to do. If you find out you have a lot of liquid, that was just an error back when you first added those 2 cartons. You would have had to use too much, or your vegetables let a lot of water go. If that's the case, just add some more quinoa, and it will. You can go up to like a 3/4 of a cup, or start in small increments though, because a little goes a long way. So at this point, you're pretty much done. Let it come up to temperature. I would say at this point, the way I've done it, I'd like to see this at least 2 more hours, so we'll eat at 6 o'clock. So, or just before 6. So, and that will total another total cooking time of between 7 and 8 hours. So, congratulations. You made your first soup.